What are you doing under that desk, Jay?
Not much, mate. Not much.
We'll give it a few seconds just to populate, because I'm sure there's thousands of people waiting to see you and I on a Thursday night before the
definitely
for the pre-kend.
What else is there to do?
Hey, not much, Jay. Not much, Jay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a impromptu for me episode of Orta No Better's Berardi and Coke. We've it wasn't meant to be myself on tonight. It was meant to be Carl, but he's gone to do some stand-up training, I understand, for the comedy gig that he's going to be doing in November. November, right? We shared it, didn't we?
December. It's 12th.
It's November.
December 12th.
I've booked the tickets. It's November.
Well, I hope you're right, mate, because one of us is wrong.
So yeah, I mean, there's not. I wouldn't say tonight we've got loads and loads to get through. I know there's one or two people waiting to join us tonight, but so we'll get their point of view a little bit later. But other than that, there's a few talking points. There's the obvious, but we can come on to that in a short while. We'll run an intro and we will get into a bit.
Hi, this is Don Matteo, and you are listening to the Orta No Better podcast. Let's do this.
You look like fucking Brolin, you're a Leeds eating bastard.
Look like some sort of fucking weird floating head. No.
He's a utensil player a bit, innit?
I mean, I feel a bit right, dickhead.
Nothing spectacular, really.
Yeah, I mean, in a word, Jay, if you were to sum up last night's game, I mean, what if you had to just use one word, what would you say?
God, I don't know. I can't think on spot.
I've tested you here. That bloody attention deficit, or whatever it is you've got.
That's right. I'm all.
Mine's going overtime, isn't it?
It is. I can't pick a word. I'd probably say okay.
Yeah. Is it okay one word, or is it two letters? I mean, it's a bit
you can use the word okay, can't you? Okay.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I'll let you have that. Mine would be enough, as in, like, I think we just did enough. We didn't look overly good at any stage, apart from sort of maybe the first 10, 15 minutes. I thought we were probably, even 20 minutes potentially, I thought we were probably going to run away with it. And really put them to the sword when we scored after 9 minutes. It had all the makings. It had the makings, didn't it, for an absolute trouncing for QPR. You know, they've not been that great this season. They're still floating around near the relegation zone. None of their fans are happy. I tried getting a couple of their fans on tonight. Unfortunately, one of them's internet's blown up, and I think the other one said he wouldn't be able to come on because he was too scared of what he might say about Patrick Bamford. I said, well, you obviously don't watch us very often then, because we have plenty to say about Paddy B. But we'll come on to that. I think that'll be quite a talking point a little bit later on.
I found the bits for that anyway.
Wicked. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, first things first, you were obviously there last night, Jay. I wasn't, because it's a much too big round trip for me to do on a school night, and I'm a girl when I'm tired and get proper aggy and angry, and nobody needs to see that.
We don't want that.
I've clicked something on my computer now and I can't hear anything. There we go, it's gone. I'd opened an opera browser and it started singing at me or something. But yeah, I mean, positives then, Jay, other than the first sort of 20, 25 minutes, what positives can we take over? You know, I mean, other than the obvious, the 3 points, what other positives are there to take from last night for you?
I think it was great to see Rodon back in, and obviously just got on with it as if he'd not been away. So he's obviously not sulking about it or anything, which is nice. I think Byram did all right again. Probably not spectacular, but he was solid. And he's consistently our best fullback at the moment, I think. And other than that, I think Jaden Anthony did really well, which was nice to see. So it's good to know we've got another option there with him, like a bona fide option that you can start with.
Yeah, just on your first point there, then just on Joe Rodon. Obviously, he is a much better defender than Liam Cooper. Did you see the comments from that I've seen floating around that Farker had told him that he needs to work on something on his athletic? I can't remember actually what the two words were, but he used two words, and it almost made him sound as if he didn't train hard enough.
Okay,
from
I've not seen that.
I'll try and find it in a moment. I'll probably have it in the comments. The quote that Farker said about Rodon, but there's no denying that he's a better centre back than probably both Pascal and Cooper. But we just look so much more assured with Pascal at the side of Joe Rodon as well.
Pascal looks loads better next to him.
He does, and he's a left centre back. We tried moving things around to bring Cooper back in with Rodon's absence, and obviously this for the second game. It felt like he had to play Cooper because we had a winning formula against Watford. So I can understand why Cooper did play against Watford. Sorry, not against Watford, against Southampton after the win against Watford. But yeah, no, I thought Pascal looks a completely different player. Rodon is quite obviously a Premier League centre back and will be a Premier League centre back. You know, I've seen people comparing him to what Ben White was for us. We just look so much more solid and assured and organised, I think, as well, which sounds mad because when Cooper came back into the team, if you remember last year when he'd been out, we looked better with Cooper in the side because we looked more organised. But this season it just looks like Joey Rodon and Pascal Struijk are a force to be reckoned with from my perspective. Then your second point, then you mentioned about Jadon Anthony.
Yeah.
Do you think he was?
I think he was my third, but I'll let you off.
Sorry, what was his second?
Second, I think I mentioned Byron being consistent again. Looking pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably going to repeat ourselves if we're going about Byron week in, week out, because he does exactly what he's like Hammerite, and he does exactly what it says on the tin. And he
hell of a signing from a value perspective.
You can't look past it. I probably 90% of Leeds fans were very, what we're going to get out of Sam Byram at this stage of his career. He's not really a left back anyway by trade. He's a right. I mean, he was played right wing for us when he was first here, didn't he? So I think he's almost the new Stuart Dallas at the moment for us. He can play. He's a bit of a utensil player to quote Smarty, and can sort of slot in anyway and do it well. He's so difficult to beat for any attacker one-on-one. He very rarely gets beaten one-on-one.
He's reliable, isn't he?
Yeah, he sometimes gets beaten in the air, but he's still very, very slow. That's it. Sorry, Skip's brought the quote up here about Rodon. Rodon needs to do more on the training ground. So yeah, I mean, it comes across there that he's not training hard enough. He thinks he's a shoo-in. So maybe that's why Cooper did play last week. And as I always say, Jay, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but let the manager pick the side. We don't see him week in, week out. We can only see him on face value on a Saturday or a Sunday for 90 minutes. He sees them for 5 days a week. You know.
Yeah, we have a moan based on like the hour and a half that we get to see him every week. You know, he's seen him every day. Like you say, he knows whose attitude's right and whose head's in the right place, who's putting it in training. We don't see that, so it's frustrating for us when a perceived worse player is picked, but as you say, there's usually a reason. There's a reason why a manager makes a decision that they do. They haven't become football managers by being fucking idiots, most of them.
Exactly. You look back on how they played against Watford without Rodon, and we still managed to keep a clean sheet, and arguably our most complete performance of the season for me so far. And Rodon wasn't including that. He was obviously banned unfairly, or whether that's unfair or fair, but he was banned, and we put in the performance of the season. Now, for him to go and change that just because we're playing a different team, you know, is it sending out the wrong message? But then again, we've just heard that he needs to do more on the training ground. So again, there's probably a number of differentials that contributed to the reason why Rodon wasn't selected anyway. So it was nice to see Charlie Cresswell come on though for a cameo last night.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that.
Did you?
He came on really late, didn't he? Yeah. I wasn't entirely sure what we were doing at that point when he came on, but I were more upset that we weren't having shots against an outfield player in goal.
I know. And
that were a real shame.
Yeah, Paddy drilling it into the wall. We'll come on to that late part of the game a little bit later on. What I want to do is we've got two people waiting. So the first one who was here is a personal friend of mine. Who I just
two of the best.
Well, they're both personal friends of mine actually. But one is actually a lad that I grew up with, and I see him quite often for a beer at the games. So just going to get Vivek in to have a bit of a chat with us. How you doing, mate? All right?
Yes, mate. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very, very well. Those that have met Vivek will know that he's a true professional. He's now at his work office, I think, by the looks of things. Still in his work attire. What did you go last night?
I did, yeah. I missed the Watford game, but I went last night. I thought you were right. We just did enough, and my mind's in two places really. One of which is quite frustrated because I thought it was an opportunity to really stuff a poor side. But then listening to Farker's post-match comments where he said it's not going to be champagne football after a poor loss. I'm a bit torn by those two comments. I think both points are right, to be honest. I thought it was an opportunity missed to stuff a side that were poor. They offered very little. What we've got up front, we should be really destroying teams like QPR, and especially after we got an early goal, because it's not like then we've got they still sat back, didn't they? They didn't offer anything, but I thought our confidence would have risen a little bit and we could have stuck a few past them. But listen, we got 3 points and hopefully we'll get another 3 on Saturday and back on the right trajectory.
Yeah, I think. Go on, sorry, Jay. Go on, mate.
How good was that pass from Rutter though for the goal? What a ball!
Do you know what? I owe him a formal apology because
I think we all do.
I thought he was one of the worst footballers I'd seen for a long time, and obviously his price tag weighs him down, and people take that into account. But what I've seen from him, I don't understand. Everyone's saying I don't understand why he's played at 9. He looks phenomenal dropping deep, picking the ball up, beating a couple of men, and he's through balls. I mean, I wasn't at the Watford game, but what he did, that assist for Anthony was phenomenal. He's 2 or 3 players, and his pass through was perfect. Again to Bamford, when he put him through with his weaker foot, it absolutely inch perfect. So I just can't see why he's not being played at 10 because he's not at the end of crosses in the 6-yard box.
Yeah,
that's stopping Piroe from getting up there.
Yeah, exactly. He's become our main creative force in the team at the moment, and he's the one player that I'd be really worried about if he had a period out at the moment because nobody else is doing what he's doing. And I've seen people saying, "No, he looks like he doesn't know what his feet are doing. They're out of control," But that's the thing. I think he knows exactly what they're doing. I think he knows exactly where the ball is. Yeah, he's just got that sixth sense, hasn't he? Special players have got a sixth sense with where the ball is and the way they move it. And he's got that.
Absolutely. And I think just on what you said there, Vivek, I mean, the frustrating thing is, as a fan, is when you go 1-0 up against one of the out-of-form sides in the league at home, under the lights, you go 1-0 up after 9.5 minutes or whatever it was. You expect a bit of a goal fest, don't you? Because you think and QPR are shit. Let's not. There's no dressing this up. Yeah. They're awful. They're probably the worst side I think we've played this year. Even though we hammered Watford and who else did we beat 3-0? Millwall. Millwall. Even though we beat both of those by 3 goals comfortably. Was it 3? Anyway,
3-1 Millwall.
3-1, I think, wasn't it? Yeah, or 4-1 or something. I can't remember. It's so long ago I've slept. But even though we've beaten teams far more comfortably, we never looked like conceding last night, apart from once right near the end when Ilias Chera, I think it was, or somebody smashed it straight into Mesley, and they shouldn't have had a chance all game really.
At least Mesley was switched on.
Yeah, I mean they didn't even. I mean I was watching him, and Begovic was wasting time at 1-0. He was keeping hold of the ball and slowing things down and. It just didn't make sense. They didn't look like a team that wanted to be there. And I've been reading a couple of the replies to the QPR tweets that went out last night, and the amount of hate for their manager and the style of football he's playing. Because on paper they've got a decent side. They're not a bad side on paper.
They have, yeah.
You look at they've got some established championship level players in there. You know, Colback, Chair, and various others, but they just look absolutely shit. And that can only be the fault of who's setting them up. I don't know. I don't know. How did it look? Did it look? I mean, obviously, I watched on telly. You don't always get the same perception, Vivek. But did it look as one-sided, I suppose, from in the stands last? Did it feel as one-sided as what it looked on telly?
Yeah, we were.
Absolutely did.
Yeah, we were totally control of the game. We had possession 65, 67% throughout the game. But it was a typical Leeds performance where we've got the ball and we're not really penetrating their defence. And what I was worried about, because we've all got a bit of PTSD from following Leeds, is that we've got all the ball and then they go and shithouse a goal at the end and we drop 2
That's
points.
what we all worry about.
And we were one fantastic Elan Meslier save away from doing that. And that's what's frustrating. Second goal. And I know you criticise Ainsworth and QPR for where they set up, but they've got such a golfing class. You know, that it was almost a perfect away performance that they sat back, didn't do anything, and then they grab a jammy goal on the break, and then they get a point. I mean, Cardiff again were a poor side. They got 2 lucky goals against us. Wednesday did the exact same thing, and we're going to have to get used to teams coming to Ellen Road and playing that way. We've got such a quality squad.
Yeah. Do you think we've got a bit of an issue there in terms of teams that actually sit back and don't want to play football? We're going to continue to struggle with, and we're going to see that a lot more. Obviously, away from home, fans are not going to let their teams sit back and absorb pressure like they do when they come to Ellen Road. 90% of that league, I would say, arguably, will probably be happy to go away with a point.
100%. Yeah. I think even Leicester and Ipswich we've beaten already, but away. But the top teams will come to Ellen Road and be happy with the point, and it's on us to break them down.
Yeah. Do you think we have got an issue there? Then do you think that we thought that we'd sort of beaten it with the Watford game, that winning 3-0, goals galore sort of thing. But even that should have been 7 or 8 realistically. But do you think we've got a bit of an issue here where we are struggling? We are missing a real 10 and somebody to unlock defenses and actually create, because we didn't create that many chances. Although it was a one-sided game, we didn't look like scoring. I mean, the XG was something like 1.87, so we should have only really scored 1 or 2 goals anyway.
We only had 3 shots on target for
exactly
that we had, and I think there's a lot of points where we're frustrated. The ball breaking to the edge of the box, and we're trying to walk it in a little bit. Archie Gray in the first half had an opportunity on the edge of the box, really opened up, and he decided to pass it. He's a young lad, I appreciate that he might not want to take on shots there, but sometimes Somerville was culpable of that as well, where he tries to beat a man too many times. Just get the shot off early. So I think potentially it's going to get in their heads if we don't start to score a few more goals to break them down. But I think we've got a 10, Luke. I think we've got a 10 in Rutter. His play deep is fantastic. Carried away, but he could be our Pablo if he plays there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's got the ability. I just think it's a tough position to play, and he's never ever played there realistically as a 10. And I think it's a lot to expect for somebody that's playing so well to sort of maybe. And I can see why Farker hasn't done it. I can see why Farker hasn't played him there, because it could be a complete confidence denter. And if he starts losing his confidence playing slightly further back and having to do a little bit more running defensively and making things a little bit more difficult for himself, then that could really damage the squad morale and confidence. Even just with him dropping a little bit, if he drops his game ever so slightly, that could have massive implications on the squad. So I understand why Farker isn't doing it, but on the other hand, as a football fan and watching the game and as a Leeds fan, it looks so obvious, doesn't it, Jay? Why don't they just swap him and Piroe around?
I'm not sure. I don't know if it's because he just wants to make sure he doesn't have any defensive responsibilities or anything. He does. He just wants him.
He closes down,
attacking. I know he does, but I can't think of any kind of real good reason. Otherwise, why you'd put him there? I get the thing about him wanting Piroe to come in late and stuff, but he could do that anyway if he wanted.
Let me ask you guys the questions, the experts. Luke, you mentioned confidence.
Experts? That's a bit of a stretch, mate.
I'm joking. No, you mentioned confidence about Rutter, but how do you think Piroe's confidence will be playing him again when he's been the Championship's top scorer for 2 seasons on the trot, and he's been played out of position? He's come to score goals. He doesn't look comfortable at 10. You know, he just doesn't. He disappears in and out of matches. Okay, he scored a couple of goals, which he has, but I still don't think overall gameplay suits him as a 10. So we may be building Rutter's confidence, but I think we've got to be careful not to damage Piroe's, because the crowd was starting to get on his back a little bit yesterday.
Yeah, no, completely. Great point. I mean, Mad Max has made a point here. He'll take Piroe going missing for 20 plus goals this season. I mean, if he's still scoring goals and scoring important goals, like, we can't really say. I mean, he does look like he's going missing in games. Certainly, I tell you, when he looks more like he's going missing when he plays further away from Rutter. When they play close together, it's quite apparent that they feed off each other quite well. But when Rutter actually plays as a 10 rather than a second striker or whatever else he plays, it looks a little bit more awkward, and he hasn't got that vision to be a 10 and that Pablo about him to be able to thread a ball and nutmeg a mermaid and, you know, go through on goal and pass it into Rutter. So I completely agree. I think, whereas I think, as you said before, Rutter probably has got that. And until we give him that opportunity, we won't know. But I completely understand why Farke's not changed it, and I get it. But I also don't get it at the same time, which is quite tough. Read through a few of these comments then, Jay, shall we?
Yeah, go for it, Matt. Are you doing them, or do you want me to do them?
Yeah, no, I'll do it if you want me. No,
right,
we were good. Liam says we were good in the first half. Second half wasn't the best. We had a few half chances with no end to our finishing. Common occurrence that. We do seem to capitalise some chances sometimes, but it's not consistent enough for me in terms of even the creation of chances. Vivek said there, we created three chances where we've made shots on target. Yeah. We'll come back to the second one because we'll come on to man of the matches a little bit later. A couple of questions here. Has anybody confirmed Anthony is out? Who's to replace Anthony now he's took a knock? It's first I've heard.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. So that's news to me.
News to me as well. If anybody can
we
tag
definitely
us
don't need
on
that.
Twitter or something, tag the Orta Know Better and Jay. I'll pick it up on the Twitter because it's first I've seen. Hello, Ben. Anyway, I just realised it's you, mate. How you doing? Danny Rumsey probably on the Piroe debate.
Yeah.
He's been played in the 10 as he played most of his games at Swansea in the 10. See, I didn't believe that, but when I was reading some some Swansea fans commenting on our stuff about Piroe, and they were all saying that he played 10 the majority of the time. Now, I think we assumed he played 9, and because let's be honest, who kept an eye on the Championship when we're in the Premier League? Not very little, not many of us.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think we all assumed that it was this goal poaching striker that was going to get you 20 goals a season because of the amount of goals he scored and the amount of goal involvements he had. Now, if Swansea are saying, and people who probably know a little bit more about his time in the Championship than I are saying that he played the majority in the 10, then I mean it's worth looking into. I didn't know that until I'd seen it, and I almost didn't believe it as well.
No, anytime you saw an article about him, it always said Swansea striker or Swansea forward. Jill Piroe, you just assume they're talking about.
Yeah, and you don't necessarily link a 10 with being a second striker. You think of a 10 as I don't know, James Maddison, for instance, or somebody who plays off the striker, not a second striker like a Zola or somebody else who's a little and large striker, but an actual
Shearer.
Yeah, but an actual 10 is somebody. A Pablo, is a great example. So. But yeah, no, I'd be interested to see some statistics on where he actually played and where his goals came from in his time at Swansea as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Smarty, go on.
I was going to say, when Bamford came on, he actually dropped Rutter back and he played sort of a little bit at 10 and then he played a little bit on the wing, which I thought was quite interesting. So he's clearly thinking that Piroe is our 10. He's bought him as a 10 and he's building the team around that, because if he's Rutter around, he's obviously not convinced that Rutter's the 9, because he's moved him out of position when Bamford came on, and he actually pre-season, didn't he, Farker, that he wasn't convinced that Rutter's position was a 9.
Yeah,
felt more of a winger. So
I tell you, a great point. I tell you what, in answer to the question about Jadon Anthony, I would play Rutter on the right and play Somerville on the left, and I would bring Bamford back in. I think. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know, actually. I don't know.
That's a step too far, that.
Yeah, let's. Do you know what, though? He looked sharp last night.
He looked all right, to be fair.
When he came on.
Score some goals.
He needs that confidence. Sorry, Vivek, missed that.
He'll be an important player for us this season. I've this argument with plenty of friends, and I've given him a lot of stick. But I think he does a job for us. That's, he misses a lot of chances, which is why he gets a lot of stick. But he's the only 9 that we've got, out and out 9. And he puts the ball up and he causes problems for the defence, which you can tell. And obviously, he got their keeper rightly sent off last night as well.
Oof, there's a debate.
I think we'll get to that in a bit, won't
we? Yeah, we will. Vivek, then 10 games in, sort of just less than a quarter of the way through the season. Happy with how it's gone so far?
Yes, because I was very concerned with what was going on with our transfer window and the activity that was happening. So we didn't have a settled squad up until the window closed. I think Farker's done ultimately a really good job, as well as the board, in getting a decent squad together. So I was concerned really that we would be languishing around mid-table before, because we had a divided squad as well. It seemed a bit toxic. We had players to leave. The dressing room was settled. That was a big worry for me, really. But the players seem to have gelled, and it seems like a happy place, really. I think automatics is going to be a stretch for us, but I definitely think we'll get hopefully into the playoffs.
Yeah, do you? So I'm going to ask you just before I let you go, Vivek. Thanks ever so much again for joining us. But just before you go, then, based on what you've seen so far, and more based off last night, I suppose, the most recent game against QPR, where do you put us by the end of the season?
I see us in the playoffs. I see us in the playoffs, to be honest, because I think with the gaps opening up quite a lot, we're going to have to put a huge run of games and wins together. And I think if we get an injury to Rodon or Ampadu or Rutter, we're relying on key players. I still worry about our defence, and Coopers and Ayling are okay to come on and do a cameo for 20 minutes. But I think to have to rely on them, I think I'd be really worried about our defence, and that showed against Southampton, really. So I don't think we've got it in us for automatics, and I'm dreading another playoff semi-final.
God, yeah.
Yeah, no, you and I both. As you say, the 10 games is usually a good barometer of where the league is in the Championship. I know things change, and people, Middlesbrough the last season came from, I think, near the bottom and went right up to the playoffs and that. So there are exceptions to the rule, but after around about 10 games, you generally get an idea of who's going to be up there and challenging. So I think, for me, I'd agree with you. I think I think Leicester will run away with it, and I just think second place is up for grabs with probably 4 or 5 teams that could probably push for it, depending on what happens over the next sort of quarter of the season up until Christmas. But look, mate, appreciate you coming on. Pleasure having you on, and you're welcome back anytime.
Thanks for having us, guys. Have a good evening.
Cheers for coming on, Matt.
Cheers, mate. So, Vivek, relatively positive with what you've seen. Would you agree with him there, Jay? Do you think? Are you quite happy with what you've seen to this stage? I know. Vivek touched on it there. We had a tough transition period, haven't we? In that we've had a takeover. We didn't know if we could sign players. We had to still get Radrizzani to sign stuff off. And then we've gone into the season, so we almost lost that first month, didn't we? That August was almost lost because we didn't know who was staying, who was going. We obviously lost Cine and some other snakes, but
Judas 1, Judas 2, Judas 3.
Where are you? After sort of 10 games now? Do you agree with Vivek? Are you quite happy with where we are?
Yeah, I don't think we're in a bad position. I think that to be in the top 6 after the start that we did have is a bit of a miracle, really. You know, it could have been a lot worse, and the fact that Farke didn't know who his team were going to be, didn't know who he could pick, who he couldn't, and at one point we didn't even have half the squad available. It could have been worse, and that could have had a knock-on effect on confidence. It could have caused us to just continue playing shit for the first few sort of games after the window ended, you know, but it didn't. He somehow managed to get all the guys on side and say, right, this is it. It's us against the world now. You lads are my lads, and we're gonna smash it. And they've hit the ground running pretty much. I mean, yeah, all right, we lost last time. We've had games where we haven't looked amazing, like the second half last night. You know, it just felt turgid. It was just like plodding through concrete. Do you know what I mean? That's how it felt watching it for the second half at times.
Yeah.
And to be where we are, I think, is a fair reflection. I think we can look forward to climbing the table a bit more from here, all being well. I'm not worried by like that one defeat. It's the championship, and this shit happens. And we've only really started after that first month, like you said. So I'm happy enough, and I think we've still got a shout at second place. Bit of an outside shout, but it's still possible. It's a long season.
Yeah. It is, you're right, and I'm seeing lots and lots of different comments here about where the people are saying playoffs, no thanks, we aren't going up this season, second place, we need to be aiming for automatics, top 4, we will replace Ipswich. But Danny Rumsey's changed his tune. We're now going to be top 6. He has been adamant throughout.
14th on it, he said.
14th, I think he said. 14th was his prediction. So at least we've managed to chop him down 8. So I'm happy with that so far.
If Danny's a believer, we can all believe.
Positivity is over him like a little halo now. He's part of the Happy Clapper Club. Welcome.
That's right. His dark cloud's gone.
Right, few more of these comments, and then we've got Old Faithful, our big friend. Not big friend. I don't know how tall he is. I've never met him in real life, but
I don't know. I've seen him flexing in the green room, as we'll call it.
Have you going?
Seen him flexing, stretching. You know, he's limbering up his lad. He's ready for this.
He is. So we'll just fly through a few more comments. Smarty, it sounded a little bit like this on telly. Usually you can hear a lot of the fan noise and everything else, but it did sound like, I don't know if this was just Sky how they filmed it, or whatever. But Smarty said last night gave him massive cup game vibes. We probably expected to win, and the crowd was pretty flat, all in meek but satisfactory performance. They're not all going to be glittery, and I think Farke said as much, didn't he? He says it's not going to be rock and roll, sexy football week in, week out. Sometimes you've got to do the shit stuff and the hard stuff to get results. And look, when you're not playing well and still getting results, getting wins or draws, then it's almost quite a positive, because that's what the goods, that's what promotional sides do over the course of the season. They still manage to get wins and draws when arguably they're not on it. So
we've never really liked midweek championship games, have we? So anytime we get a result in one, I'm happy, to be fair.
Well, everyone's sober, aren't they? It's a school night. People are.
I were tired. I got there feeling a bit like could do without a game tonight. It's getting dark again early, and it's just a bit of a muted vibe, isn't it? It's a bit subdued.
Yeah, absolutely. Smart again just had his bit on Bamford. He's had his good 5 minutes now. Everyone's snail trailing there. Grundy's, he isn't a starter, not anymore. Plus he'll be injured next week. Hey, Mr. Positive, that for you is Smart.
He's just gone the opposite direction.
He's lost it, hasn't he? He's lost plot.
Yeah.
Hang on. Andy says if Danny's saying 6, we're winning the bloody league. Well, he's probably right. Yeah, probably right.
I think so, yeah. Bang on.
Cool. Right, we'll save the rest of them comments for a little bit later, and we'll welcome Mr. Russell Vernon.
Hey, Luke. Hey, Jay. Hey, everyone.
Now then, Big Russ.
How are we doing?
I'm all right, lads. How are you?
Absolutely phantasmagorical. All the better for seeing you.
Christopher, all the better for seeing you too as well.
Do us a favour, Russ. Just turn your mic down a tiny bit. You're piercing my bloody ears, kid. That's it, mate. That's it.
Show us your flex then, Russ. Show everyone what you've been doing.
Go on, Russ.
Brilliant. Anybody who's new here you might not have seen Russ before, but he's our Mr. News, and he knows literally anything that is worth knowing. Russ knows, or he's heard it and he's read about it today.
Russell Vernon.
Why don't you start, Russ, with us on the Jaden Anthony? Is that something you've picked up?
Yes, Daniel Farke mentioned it last night in his press conference. That's about Jaden Anthony. He says he rolled his ankle a little bit and felt some pain in the second half, and we didn't want to risk too much, and that was the reason he subbed him off after 60 or 65 minutes around that mark. Last night.
Thank you ever so much. Has there been any updates on that then today yet? No, we've not.
No updates today. I think next presser will be Friday ahead of the match. On Sunday, because they don't normally do one on a Thursday if they've played the Wednesday night, so presser should be tomorrow for everyone to find out the latest.
Sound. Lots of love coming in for Russ. Russ, we love you. Flexible Russ in the house. Russ. Been squatting in the mirror, has the lad. Andy says, I hope. Alison says, I hope. Danny says, I hope. Flexing. So yeah, a lot of love for you in here, Russ, tonight. So any other news for us, Russ? Anything we might have missed today? Anything after tonight's game that we've not been told?
No, nothing much really. Become Rodon, you asked about what he said in the press conference about Rodon. Yes, with regarding to the training ground, he spoke about that a bit yesterday in his press conference, and I picked that up earlier today. So I'll just bring you that right where he said about him on the training ground, which I did personally chat earlier. Some people were asking earlier on, but I'll mention it again. Now he says not each and every game was spot on in every detail. For example, the yellow-red card was unnecessary. He also had a chat with him because he can improve more on the training pitch.
Perfect. Does that suggest to you then, Russ and Jay, I suppose? Would that suggest to you that he doesn't train very hard? Doesn't train as hard as his counterparts. Maybe he'd still train as hard, I mean.
Sounds like it, doesn't it? There's obviously some sort of concern there.
Yeah. Maybe he's not. Maybe after that red card, maybe he will be fatigued from the match anyway, from the whole game, maybe after playing quite well up until that red card. So maybe it was just getting his fatigue mentally back up to full strength, and that's probably why he didn't play at the weekend against Southampton and then came back in last night.
Yeah, possibly. Possibly.
So, Russ, at the start of tonight, I asked Jay to give me one word to dissect last night's performance. I understand you watched it. So, what would
I watched it on LU. I watched it on LUTV last night. Paid tenner to the club and watched it on LUTV with Bryn and Turner last night.
You're a loyal fan, you Russ. You're a loyal supporter.
Come on, then. What's your one descriptive word of that overall performance last night? How would you sum it up in one word if I was to give you the microphone now?
I say pleased. So I was pleased with how we performed in that first half, and then how we managed to hold on to the lead that we got and see the game out, especially after where QPR came on to us in the second half and closed us down. First half, theirs have too much respect for me, I think, and theirs have too much space. But second half, they closed us down much well and played into midfield and stopping us, because that's the way we were going through in the first half, and the way we found a lot of joy in the first half, but second half we didn't really find much. Didn't really get much joy, to be fair.
That's a long bloody word. I knew you wouldn't be able to do it, Russ. That's why I put it on you. I just knew.
Yeah.
Did it not annoy you guys that we just couldn't kill that game off? Because I was getting frustrated as hell because they were there to be beat. They really were.
And I was also surprised, I think you said it earlier, Jay, as well, with that we didn't test Lyndon Dykes once he went in there.
Yeah.
As well, I thought we might have had
look happy to be in there, didn't he?
Yeah, he was happy to be in there. Not have a face a shot on goal in there since after he went in there. After they made
Why did Bamford set that free kick as well? Who let him do that?
I'm not sure.
Let's come on to that. Let's come on to the Let's come on to the Bamford incident. I know you've got a few graphics and things to get up for us, Jay. So let's start by talking about this Bamford incident. Look, the game for me was arguably won at this stage anyway. I mean, it wasn't going to change the outcome of the game, although if they'd come for a smash and grab in the last minute, it felt very much like the next goal was going to come from QPR.
Yeah.
For me, we were under a bit of a cosh, and it was the only period of the game that I ever felt under any pressure. And then what happened. Now, I'm going to ask you in one word to answer this, and this is one word, Russ.
Okay, no worries.
Should it have been a red card?
Ooh.
Yes.
I say yes.
Okay. Well, I disagree with you both. I think he's played for it. I think he's less control of the ball, and I think he's milked it. Now, letter of the law, you're probably right, the pair of you, because he's reckless, he's off his feet, and it's outside the box, and he's the last man.
Basically.
So I understand why he was given a red card. I completely understand it, but he has played for that. He's not been touched.
I feel like it's a harsh red card, but for a one-word answer, I'm going with yes. Just by the letter of the law, he had to go. And
go on then, Russ.
If it had been us, our player would have gone.
Yeah, go on then, Russ. Why did you say yes?
Because of how I came out, studs was showing as well, and Bamford, because he saw him coming, and if Bamford had to move that away with the height he was at and where his foot was, he could have been injured for a very long time.
Look, yeah, I mean,
and plus also the studs were showing as well.
Yeah,
and if you go in with studs showing, then he's in danger of being sent off.
You're out of control.
Yeah, he was out of control, and he was, but ultimately, if you don't get tackled, you are not being fouled. Surely that's the rule.
But
if you're
there
not
was
touched,
an intent to foul. The thing is, if the only reason you're not being fouled is because you jumped out the way, that doesn't make it okay that the guy just tried to destroy your ankles. Do you know what I mean? There's an intent there. He was reckless, and he only missed Bamford because Bamford got out of the way, and that he lost his footing for me trying to get out of the way. And
good point taken. But if you look at Bamford's reaction, he gets up and puts both hands up as if to say, "I haven't dived," and I'm sure that's what he does.
Yeah, I think that's what he's doing as well. I thought when I first watched it that he actually looks like he's getting up to go after the ball, but the ref blows so quickly he turns straight around then. So to me, I don't think he was trying to get the guy sent off. I don't think he played for it. I think he tried to get out of his way.
Yeah, I don't think the referee actually gave that red card. I think it was the linesman on the stand. Yeah, because before he actually pulled out the red card, I saw him put his hand to his ear as if he was listening to what the linesman or official were telling him.
Right.
Andy Aylor says you can't give a red for intent. Now, I don't know about that.
I don't know the law. I don't know the law. I have to be honest.
I don't claim to be an expert on that part of the game.
But I'm pretty sure you probably can get a red for intent if there's enough intent, and you're reckless and off your feet and everything. Even if you win the ball now and you're off your feet and reckless, you still get red card for. Do they call it
endangering an opponent?
Endangering, but they also call it with what do they call it? Not momentum, but something pressure or too much. I don't know. Force, too much. What do they call it? Accessible force or something.
Accessible
like that?
Force, yeah, accessible force.
Something like
excessive force.
Do we want to see the incident in question?
Yeah,
just for laughs?
let's get it on very quickly.
Let's get the photo up, Jake.
Just to hear the commentator. Just bear with me while I bring up the right one. Here we go.
No sound.
No sound there, Jay.
Jay, with no sound.
No sound? There
No.
should be. Well, there is on mine.
That's all right then. Fuck everyone else.
I don't know why.
Jay, when you normally share the screen, you can actually press on the bottom where you can share the audio from the thing that you're sharing.
It hasn't given me an option for that. Spare me a second.
Do you want to have a play around with it, Jay? We'll have a bit more of a chat.
And what we'll say, just playing around with that, QPR have put in an appeal in today against Begovic's red card from yesterday, and a decision will be made tomorrow.
Right,
now
this will. I know why it didn't work.
Okay, here we go. We'll have it back on.
We'll have it back on, and then we'll continue on my point after.
Right, here we go. This better work.
Ball, Begovic Begovic just helps it past him. Oh, there's no touch. It's a diving cheat. Ball. Begovic just helps it past.
Did you get it that time?
Yeah, he's a diving
We did.
cheat.
It's a diving cheat.
Look, I've watched it back there. I even think that Bamford has played for that. I'm not played for it, but he's gone down. Just gone down very, very easily. I don't think he's fallen or slipped. I think he's bollocks. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So we've had a few funny things come out on the back of this anyway, haven't we, Jay, today? So I think probably this next thing that you're going to show is probably just about the funniest. Then we'll come back to your point, Russ. Don't worry. We'll come back.
No, it's
this is one of the best things I've ever seen in the aftermath of a game. Here we go.
So QPR have started an online petition to ban Patrick Bamford from professional football. Yes, you read that right.
It had 13 signatures at the time.
It's been signed by every QPR fan who was there last night, by the looks of it.
Yeah, I think they all came in the same car.
I heard them singing "You Going Home in a Taxi" last night a couple of times, and the old specials. But yeah, sorry. Going back to your point, then, Russ. Begovic, red card being... now, you wouldn't submit an appeal unless you thought you were confident of winning that appeal, would you? Because it costs the club money, and there's an obvious chance that it can be overturned and extended.
Yeah, plus also, I was reading from someone earlier, I know in the media industry, that even if this one does get overturned for the actual red card, Begovic could still face a ban for the way he reacted towards the match official after the red card was shown last night, because as soon as the red card is shown, you've got to leave the pitch straight away, and he didn't do that. He was having a go the referee last night. And then he didn't show you this on LUTV, but I've heard a few people from all people were there. He had to go to the fourth official, Rebecca Welch, last night as well.
Who, Begovic?
Right.
Yeah, Begovic, as he were walking off.
Right,
that's not well, is it?
That's not good.
Not in this day and age.
I mean, I understand them appealing the red card because, as I said, quite honestly, I don't think there was contact. I think it was a very harsh red card. He wasn't necessarily the last man, and it wasn't a guaranteed goal scoring opportunity. Lots of other reasons, however, reckless, blah blah blah, and that's ultimately going to be in. It's going to be how it's perceived by whoever's going to be looking at it, So. Understand that, but then with this carry on afterwards, there's a very good chance that with the disrespect is shown the other officials, that they're just going to tell him to fuck off anyway.
There's a strong chance, isn't there? If that is like something where they look at it and it's like a borderline, this could go either way. They're going to go with red card, aren't they, for reacting like that?
Yeah. But imagine this was the. I mean, obviously we're going to be biased because we're Leeds fans. We want everything to go our way, but imagine it the other way around. Imagine Meslier has come out like that. And he's not touched him.
How would we be
feeling?
We'd be going mental. That's football. That's football.
Yeah. Hey, we're fickle bunch. Who cares? It wasn't us. Fuck them.
That's it. Danny's just saying the one where he's taking the free kicks even better. Do you want to hear that one? I think I've got
Let's hear that.
Ready to go.
Yeah, I saw that and I was laughing at that as well.
Strike it. Bamford, the cheat, will take the free kick. Left-footed from the end strike.
Bamford the cheat. There's no being sore, is there? There's no like being sore.
No. Smart makes a great point, and I very, very kindly followed this up last night with a tweet because I think Dave Rowson, actually friend of the podcast, commented on Naki Wells saying no VAR, no problem, and looking back at the camera.
Yeah.
Dave Rowson commented on it in 2020 saying these things might come back to bite you. Like the day after or the same day as that VAR decision, and I just commented on it with a chef's kiss because that was the perfect compliment to that tweet.
Yeah.
Digler says that commentator's having an Alan Partridge moment there.
Yeah, it was,
Bamford
it was
the
brilliant.
cheat.
Bamford the cheat. He's going to be known as that, and I'm very sure probably one of the content producers will be bringing out a new T-shirt or a new mug very, very shortly. Yeah. And we'll probably see a lot of it on propaganda and whatnot. But anyway, right, let's cut to the chase then. Russ, we've been dribbling on long enough now. Have you seen enough from us this season to see us get promoted?
I have, yeah, especially after, for
Good
me,
man.
like everyone else said, the season started for me when we played Sheffield Wednesday. And up until after that Sheffield Wednesday game, up until the Southampton game, we hadn't lost. So we've gone on a really good run from that Sheffield Wednesday game. And so for me, I've seen enough for us from them. And also now the squad, compared to where it was beginning of the season, is looking stronger. And the bench is looking stronger as well as the starting 11 now. So we've got a good depth of options now and players who can rotate. Because when we rested Archie, Glenn Kamara come in and did a steady job. Now Archie's back in the side. So when Ampadu comes out, we could fetch Gruev in or Kamara in on that side as well and still have enough options. And we've got enough options up front in the wings as well.
Yeah. Well, providing Jaden Anthony isn't injured, obviously. But
yeah. And what I will say, just ahead of the weekend, though, because I saw after the game with us last night, Rotherham against Bristol City was on Sky yesterday, so I taped that, and I watched it back after our game last night. Both teams were rubbish, but Bristol City for me were worse. The two goals that go from poor defensive play by Rotherham on both of the goals. Other than that, Bristol City or Rotherham didn't really create much in the game.
Oh, well, we'll be all right, thanks. We never make poor defensive errors.
I'll tell you where I am with this season so far. It's very reminiscent to me. Now, please don't quote this ever again, but I know it's going out live. But it's very reminiscent to Bielsa's first season in charge when we were good. We were very good. When we were poor, we were poor. And you know, we've just fell up short that season with Derby and whatnot. But it feels very reminiscent. Like we have some really good, and when I say good, really good performances, but we also have some very lackluster and sluggish, and it's almost like the team is trying to get ready and trying to do something, and trying to build something. But I mean, it's only our first back-to-back home win since middle of last year, sometime. So it is something to build on. I think there is a lot of positives to take out of it. And yeah, I'm still very, very confident that we haven't even seen anywhere near the best of this bunch of players yet. I think we've seen flashes. I don't think we've seen the consistency, which is going to be important. And it is over a 46-game season. You have to be consistent. Leicester are putting teams away week in, week out and doing it with ease. I mean, they beat second in the league Preston or third in the league Preston last night, comfortably 3-0, I think it was. And
talk about teams dropping off though. Preston had won like every game or something, won like 5 or 6, maybe more in a row. Then suddenly they've gone like draw, defeat. Like it can change that fast in the Championship.
It can, and that's what I'm talking about with the consistency and things as well. So,
and for me as well, I don't think Leicester will go the entire season unbeaten. I don't think none of the sides in the Championship will go unbeaten. There'll be some shock results along the way. This season, just look at Birmingham against Leeds. Who would have thought Birmingham would beat us 1-0 in that game? That was heading for a 0-0 draw, and then the shit house to 1-0 with a late penalty.
They've both teams have already been beaten, haven't they? Leicester got beaten by Ipswich,
Hull City,
that's right, and Ipswich got beat by us. So there is no teams unbeaten in the league at the moment.
No, that's it.
But yeah, certainly lots and lots to look forward to. Going into the weekend then, really quickly, do we see wholesale changes or do we see as close to last night as possible, gents?
I think
for me,
same
I think
again
it depends.
If possible.
Yeah, if everyone's okay, I think we'll probably go same again. If not, for me, I think we'll see Dan James come back in for Jaden Anthony. Well, the rest of the starting lineup will stay the same for me.
I think so.
And then fetch Bamford back on in the second half again, just while he builds up his fitness levels. Cause I don't think he's 100% match fit just yet. Give him a few more minutes. And also, there's a Premier League Cup game for the Leeds under-21s tomorrow night, York's ground against Luton Town. 7 o'clock kickoff.
Will you be there signing autographs, Russ?
I won't be there, but it should be, because there's no Premier League games, should be available for subscribers on LUTV to watch live tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. If anyone's got a subscription, the match audio pass subscription, you can watch it. Should be able to watch it on LUTV kickoff.
They should be paying you, Russ.
Yeah, Russ. Why are you on the payroll? I'm going to, really quickly, Russ, before I let you go, I'm just going to put you on the spot. One word, where do we finish this season?
Second, behind Leicester.
Brilliant. Thanks ever so much, mate. Always a pleasure having you
Russ.
on. You're an absolute legend.
Cheers, lads.
Good man.
What a lad.
Love
Russ.
I love him.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's got some great points. Always cock on with his news. He follows the other. He's a journalist himself. Follows all the other journalists, he gets all the information for us. Just a couple more comments to go through, Jay, before we're done for the night. Then, I just want to ask you first of all, who was your man of the match last night?
Oh Jesus, I think I'd give it to Somerville. He were causing them issues constantly, and he scored a great goal. It was a lovely, calm finish.
Yeah, I would have picked Somerville. I think Ampadu got it officially. It was again, but really good as per. But Somerville was the one who caused the most issues, I think. And in that first half, Colback didn't just honestly. Colback was shitting himself every time Somerville got the ball. He hated it. Great. One more talking point. I wanted to get to this with Russ actually before he went, because I know how much he feels for these players. But Mad Max has said he wants to see Bill, Cooper, and Bamford ghosted out the squad, play the new players, and we finish second or third. I mean, it's a sad state of affairs when our weakest links are players that were so imperative to our last promotion. But they are the obvious weak links. Bill last night, Cooper when he played at the weekend. Bamford, we've yet to see what version of Bamford we're going to get this season. But does Max have a point here? And do you share that sentiment?
I think out of the squad is too much. I think we need them in the squad. We don't have the depth to not have them be a part of the squad. But I definitely think all of those players should be sort of backups now, second choice players. I don't think they should be our starting players. I can see why certain players start. I mean, was Shaq injured last night? Because he wasn't on the bench either, were he? So Ayling may not have played, but it's really annoyed me that, because we mentioned on the previous pod that he'll either play one of Cooper or Ayling, but with Shaq injured, that didn't get tested. Ayling had to play, so it would have been interesting to see if he did that or not. I don't think Ayling would have played personally.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think they're valuable as squad players. They know what the club's about. They love being here. They're going to promote the club to players that come, and they're the people that will give their all. But time waits for no man.
Andy's spot on here. There's a lot to be said for experience. They're still useful, even if they're not playing.
And they can advise players like Archie, like how to cope with expectation and stuff.
Completely, I completely agree, and there is. I mean, Max, I do share your sentiment somewhat in that they're not good enough to be playing in a promotion chasing side week in, week out. But I think to ghost them out of the squad is probably a little bit drastic. Eventually, obviously, and if we were to be promoted, I would fully expect them, all three of them, to leave, or be sold or whatever. But look, not a million miles off, but I think out the squad's a little bit drastic, a little bit deep. John Garside, last comment. We need to get Rodon bought in January. No fucking about. Unfortunately, there is no option to buy Joe Rodon.
It's out of our hands.
Insert any clause. Look, if we're offered the option, then I'm sure we'll probably inquire. But it looks like the absolute type of player we need. And it'd be nice to sign him. I completely agree. But as I understand, I don't think there is an option. So never mind.
I think there might be a chance of a permanent deal if we go up, because I think he'd want to stay here if he's assured he's going to be the main man in defence. And I think he's past that age point now where Spurs are ever going to really put him into the first team. I think this loan is for them to try and bump his price up and get him in shop window.
Same with Jed Spence.
And there's no option, because then they can get a bidding war going with newly promoted clubs or whatever when the time comes.
Yeah, if he has a great season, I understand it completely. Great. Put you on the spot then. Let's have your prediction after first 10 games. Where do we finish this season, Jay?
I'm going to cling to second for now. I'm still full of hope. So yeah,
good stuff. All right. Yeah, I'm still optimistic that we'll finish top two. I don't think Ipswich, Preston, Sunderland, and West Brom will keep up their run and stay above us all season. I think we've got a lot more to see of our players. I think we've seen the very best of those four sides, and even Leicester. Whereas I think there's a lot more to come from us. So optimistic. I don't
give a toss about I don't give a toss about winning it. Just promotion.
No. It'd be nice, wouldn't it? But
it would. But we've been there, done that.
Yeah. Yeah. We will be back on Sunday morning. Smarty and Gilly are doing B&C after Bristol at home.
Carl could have done it, but he can't do it, so he's not doing it.
Yeah, he has to swap but didn't want to swap anything, so just left us. What else is going on? Joe's on now. If you want to switch over and watch Joe, I know he started at 9 with a few of the others doing the final word. Smarty and I are actually guests on another podcast tomorrow night for a short while as well. Not another Leeds podcast.
No, you kept that quiet.
We're guesting on, apart from tweeting it all over Twitter all day.
Okay.
And what else is going on? That's about it. We'll be back on Tuesday with the normal show. But giveaway. We've got one of these shirts.
We have. Fruit salad.
Fruit salad shirt with Joel Piroe on the back. Details how to enter in our pinned tweet on Twitter. Follow us, subscribe on here, do what you can. And we will hopefully be back. Well, you'll see some of us Sunday, some of us might even see tomorrow night, and then some of us you'll see on Tuesday.
We're everywhere.